So on your local final exam, the multiple choice are questions 1 through 20. They will be worth 2 credits each. Now, there's really 76 total credits on this exam. So basically, each multiple choice question is worth approximately 2.5 points. Basically, each short response question is going to be worth approximately 5 points. All right, that's how much each one is worth approximately. So there's 1 through 20, which is multiple choice, 21 through 29, which is short response. Those will all be hand scored for partial credit. All right. So taking a look at the multiple choice. So in question number 1, all right, in question number 1, you had to put the things in proper standard form. All right, which one is in standard form? When you do it in standard form, you have to put the exponents in order from greatest to least. That should not say least to greatest. That should say greatest to least. So you have to do greatest to least, putting the exponents in order. So that would be Dylan. All right, that would be Dylan, because your greatest exponent has to come first, which is the 6, then the 4, then the 3, then the 1. In question number 2, all right, you have these. I would graph these first. All right, I would use scrap paper and I would graph these first. And then which statement is true? So when you graph A ends up being a straight line that looks like this. B ends up being a parabola that looks like this. Notice that these two, B and C, all right, because it says C is shown in the graph, B and C cross here and here. They have the same zeros. Zeros are your x-intercepts. It wouldn't be choice B. It says A and B have the same y-intercept. The y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. A and B don't have it, all right? A and C have the same y-intercept. B and C both have a maximum. That's not true. B has a minimum because that's the bottom part. C has a maximum and A has a minimum. A does not have a minimum or maximum because lines don't have that. In question number 3, when written in factored form, this is equivalent to what? You just have to do FOIL or double distributive property to all of them and see which one matches. When you do it to choice B, you have a plus 24W and a minus 2W. That ends up being a plus 22W in the middle, which matches here. That matches the exact thing here. So that's choice B. In question number 4, most people got this one right. The company charges $50 for a one-time setup fee plus $25 for each jersey. So $25 times the number of jerseys, which is 25x, plus your $50 setup fee. In question number 5, a ball is thrown into the air from the top of a building, and it's represented by this equation. Type that into your y equals and graph it. When you type it into your y equals and graph it, you get this picture. In order to fit the picture on your screen, you would have to hit zoom and then 0, which is zoom fit. And then you could do second and calc to find your zeros, to find out exactly where that's at. However, when you take a look at your choices, all right, when you take a look at your choices, having a negative answer doesn't make any sense, all right? We want to know when it's going to hit the ground, so we want to know when it's going to be at 0 right there. When you take a look at your actual graph, it's not going to be 244 or 180, all right? When you take a look at it, it's very clear on your graph, but you could do second calc and 0. In question number 6, all that you have to do is take this f of 2, that's your x value, and sub it in for x. So you have 3 times 4 squared plus 2, it equals, and you get 50. In question number 7, which number is not in the solution set? So the first thing that we have to do to this one is solve the actual equation. So to solve this equation, it's a 2-step equation. We would do minus 30 and minus 30, divide by 2's. We don't flip the signs or anything. If this bottom number was negative, if this 2 was negative, then we'd have to flip the sign. So we get x is greater than or equal to 15. Now be careful, which number is not in the solution set? 15 would be, because it says or equal to. 16 is greater than that, so that's in the solution set. 45 is greater than 15, that's in the solution set. 14 is not, because 14 is not greater than or equal to 15. In question number 8, which statement is true about f of x and the g of x? Again, graph it, all right? You're given the parabola, but you need to graph this one. So when you graph it, it looks like this. So which statement is true? Well, B is true, that they have the same y-intercept. Where the lines cross the y-axis, they have this point right here. It wouldn't be choice A. Choice A says the min value of g of x is greater than the max of the f of x. F of x doesn't have a max, so that doesn't make any sense. There is only one solution. No, there's not. They cross at 2 points. So there's really two solutions. And they have the same roots. The line doesn't have a root, so I don't even know what that means. In question number 9, what are the roots of the equation? The roots are your x-intercepts or your zeros. So they cross here at -1 and here at 3. In question number 10, what is the axis of symmetry? That's the fold, all right, where it folds perfectly in half. So when you go to graph it, the graph of it looks like this, all right? Where can you fold it perfectly in half so that the two sides match up? Or what point is halfway going across, is equidistant from both sides of the parabola? It's this dotted line going right down the middle. When you actually look on the calculator, that's all at 1, all right? That's all at 1. So this would be the equation x equals 1. Remember Hazy-Vixen, x equals is a vertical line. So it would be A. If you're somebody that put y equals 1, y equals 1 is a horizontal line. All right, that's y equals 1. It's not at y equals 1. It's at x equals 1. In question number 11, which graph is represented by this? All you have to do is type it into your y equals and see. All right, so when you type it in, remember your absolute value, you have to hit second and catalog, which is your 0 button, and then ABS. Make sure that you tab over. Notice the -2 is not inside the absolute value, it's outside. So you got to use the arrow pad and tab over to get that -2 outside of the absolute value symbol. All right. And then you end up with choice C, you just match the graph. In question number 12, the box and whisker plot. So A in your box and whisker plot, that's your min. B is your first quartile. C is your median. D, which you didn't have to do on this one, but might have to do on your exam. This is the third quartile. And then E is your max number. Those are the 5 things that are there. So they want to know what A, B, and C represent. That would be the min, Q1, and the median, which is choice A. In question number 13, which one represents exponential growth? Growth goes up. When you take a look at these graphs, there's only one graph going up. Here's our exponential curve, and it is going up. The one that would be exponential decay, hint, hint, decay means going down, and exponential, this would be exponential decay because that's going down and down and down. This one goes up and down, so that's not decay, and a straight line is not decay. All right, so be very, very careful. This is exponential decay, hint, 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 hint. Question number 14. Christopher looked at his quiz scores. There are a lot of people that got this question wrong. Christopher looked at his quiz scores. So here's semester 1, here's semester 2. Which statement is correct? Well, what you have to do is you have to type in semester 1 scores, stat edit L1, and then do stat calc 1 variable statistics. It gives you all this information. You just have to do stat calc 1 variable statistics. So for semester 1, it's all these red values, and the calculator gives you those. Remember that this X with the little line above it, that is your mean. All right. So for semester 2, you do the same thing. Type it into your L1. It's stat calc 1 variable statistics. It gives you all those values. So which statement is correct? Well, it would be choice B, the median score for semester 1. Median score for semester 1, 89.5, is greater than the median score for semester 2, 88. In question number 15, for which interval is the ball's height always increasing? So always increasing, the graph is increasing from here to here. It's increasing from 0 through 2.5. That's where it's increasing. Decreasing would be from 2.5 to 5.5. That would be decreasing. In question number 16, which point lies in the solution set? Nobody should have got this question wrong. The solution set is the double shaded area. So which value is in the double shaded area? 8, -1 is right here. Notice that it's in that double shaded area. So it's choice D. It would not be, for those of you who put 3, 0, It would not be here, all right? It wouldn't be at 3, 0 because points in the solution set cannot be on a dotted line. Points in the solution set cannot be on a dotted line. In question number 17, the cost of a postage for a letter up to 1 ounce is 39 cents. Letters weighing over 1 ounce up to and including 2 ounces cost 41 cents. Letters weighing over 2 ounces up to and including 3 ounces, it costs 43 cents, and so forth and so on. So which graph represents that? It can't be B and D right away. I could eliminate B and D right away. You can't have 2 open dots right above each other like that. It doesn't make any sense for this problem. It doesn't make any sense for this one either with 2 closed dots right above each other, all right? What you need is choice A. After 1 ounce, so like 1.01 ounces, all the way up to and including, notice that it says and including 2 ounces. This is your clue that including 2 ounces is a closed dot. It's 41 cents. Up to and including 3 ounces, it's 43 cents. So that's why it has to be an open dot here and a closed dot there. In question number 18, which one represents a linear function? For it to be a linear function, you have to add or subtract by the same thing each time. Another way to do it is just graph the points and look at the picture, all right? Which one forms a line? Well, the easier way to do it is just say which one is adding by the same number each time. It would be choice B. Notice in these other ones, we're adding by different numbers each time, all right? So be very, very careful. In question number 19, in the sequence, the first term is 5, so that's where we're starting off at. And the common difference is 2. That means we're adding by 2 each time. Remember, difference in this case does not mean that you are subtracting, all right? If it was a common difference of -2, then we would be subtracting, but it's common difference of 2. That means we're adding by 2. They want to know what the 5th term is. So we're adding by 2, adding by 2, adding by 2. Your 5th term is 13. And in question number 20, the cost to mail a letter was 40 cents for up to 1 ounce. So that's where we're starting off at. That's our first term. And then every additional ounce costs 15 cents. So you're taking your previous term and adding 15 cents to it. So that would be choice C. Now we get into the short response. Remember, these were out of 4 points each. All right, these were out of 4 points each. In Schoology, those of you who did the assignment, I left you very detailed feedback on the questions that you got wrong. Please, 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 in Schoology, make sure that you read that feedback. It took me like an hour and a half this morning to go through all of them because I did leave you feedback for the questions that you got wrong, all right? And things that you got wrong, things that you needed to change, and things like that. In question number 21, so first of all, make sure that you're reading what's here in the green. There were some people that did not show work. If you don't show work, you are not getting credit. You have to show work for all of the short response questions, all right? You can't just write x equals 26 and call it a day, all right? We need to see your work. You have to show all your work to receive full credit. So in question number 21, how do you get from this step to this step, all right? How do you get from here to here? What property are you using? Well, you can see that you are doing the distributive property. So to get from here to here, you use the distributive property. To get from here to here, notice that the only thing that's changing, we're moving this 5 to over here and we're moving the 50 to over here. So we're switching around the order. Remember that the commutative property switches the order. So we're using the distributive property right here. And then to get from here to here, we're using the commutative property. In question number 22, there is honestly nobody that should have got less than full credit on this one. This was a very easy question because all you had to do, they're already rearranged for y equals. All you had to do is type them into the y equals, hit second and table to find your points. Let the calculator do the work for you, all right? So when you hit second and table to find the points, you should end up with these 2 graphs. There were a couple of people that made their graphs really, really, really tiny and only did like a part of the graph and a part of the graph. You need to do the whole graph, right? You should be hitting graph anyway to be seeing what the graph actually looks like on your calculator. Remember, you can graph more than one thing, more than one equation at the same time. So make sure that you have arrows on the ends. You wouldn't get full credit if you don't. All right, so we have a parabola and we have a line. Where do the two lines cross? Well, they cross right here. This point is over to -4, up to +3, and they cross right here. That is over to 1, down to -2. Make sure that we're graphing the full graphs. How I graded this one was it was 1 point for graphing the line correctly, 1 point for graphing the parabola correctly, 1 point for each of the two intersection points. In question number 23, you had to rearrange them for y equals first. You have to get the y all by itself, all right? Then you have to graph them. Remember, you have to decide open dot versus, or not open dot, dotted line versus solid line, and then shading above or below based on the inequality sign. You also notice here in the purple, there are a bunch of people who forgot to answer this part of the question. Is 6,3 a solution? Draw yes or no on the graph, all right? So taking this first one and rearranging for y equals, all you have to do is -3x and -3x. So our equation is y is greater than or equal to -3x plus 6. Type it into your y equals, hit second in table to find your points. So we get this graph. It's an or equal to, so it's going to be a solid line. Make sure you have arrows at the ends of your line. And because it's greater than, we're shading above the line. So that's the red graph. For the second one, trying to get the y all by itself, you have to do -8 and -8, and then divide by 2's to get the y all by itself. We don't need to flip the sign or anything like that because we're not dividing by a negative. We're dividing by a positive. So that just is y is less than 2x minus 4. Less than is a dotted line. There's some people who drew a solid line there. Less than is a dotted line. Less than is shading below. So our double shaded area is all in here, right? Our double shaded area is all in this green area. So now you have to answer, is 6,3 a solution? Well, 6,3, you can see my little dot right here. 6,3 is right there. Is that in the double shaded area? Yes, it is. So that's why I wrote the word yes. In question number 24, there are a bunch of people that got this one wrong. That this one I was completely shocked, all right? Because this is just a straight up distributive property question. This is not very difficult. So anytime that we have the distributive property, we take the number outside, multiply by both of the things inside. -2 times x is -2x. -2 times 4 is -8. Bring down your inequality sign, bring down your 12. Now it's just a two-step equation. Add 8 and add 8, divide by -2. Now be careful. When you divide by a negative number, when this bottom number is negative, you have to flip the sign. So that changes from greater than to less than. Now, there are a couple of people who solved this one a little bit differently. They divided by -2 first. That's fine. All right, nothing wrong with that. All right, it's just a different way to solve it. In question number 25, there are two different ways to do this one. You could do reverse FOIL or use the quadratic formula. There are a bunch of people that started off trying to solve this one by adding 40 to both sides. Absolutely not what you want to do, all right? You want to do what times what is -40 that adds up to -6, or do the quadratic formula. If you do reverse FOIL, it would be x minus 10 times x minus 4, because -10 times 4 is -40. And for the inners, you'd get -10x. For the outers, you would get 4x. -10 plus 4 does give you your -6. But you aren't done after that. We need to solve for x. So we need to draw our line down the middle, set both sides equal to 0, and then solve those one-step equations. So you get 10 and -4. If you use the quadratic formula, there were, I want to say, 2 or 3 people that got this part right here wrong. All right, be very, very careful right there. That inside the square root symbol is b squared. Our b value is this -6 right here. Remember, our a value was a 1 because there's a 1 in front of that x squared. and our C value is negative 40. So when you do B squared, that's going to be negative 6 squared. There's a bunch of people that counted it as a negative 36, not a positive 36. It's negative 6 inside parentheses squared. So that's a positive 36. And then minus 4 times negative 40 is a positive 160. So you have 36 plus 160, which gives you that 196. 196 is a perfect square, which is 14. Split it, and you end up with 10 and negative 4. In question number 26, there were a bunch of people that distributed with the 10. You do not distribute with the 10 in this equation. A 10 is not right in front of the parentheses, all right? What you want to distribute with, because of this minus sign, there's really a negative 1 in front of the parentheses. That's what we want to distribute with. Negative 1 times 2x, negative 1 times negative 6. So when we distribute, we end up with this part, which is negative 2x plus 6. What do you do with the 10? You just bring it down. So now on this side, we have to combine our like terms of our plane number 10 and our plane number 6 to be 16 there. On your final exam, you will have a question just like this. On this side, distribute, distribute. On this side, we're adding together our x's with our x's. So now we have negative 1x minus 10 equals 16 minus 2x. There's a bunch of different ways to do this. I think the easier way is to add 2x to both sides. Then it just becomes a two-step equation, and you get 26. In question number 27, unfortunately, you're going to have to write small on this one. I tried, I experimented. I couldn't put 2 different slides to do work for the same problem. It just, Schoology wouldn't let me do it. So you are going to have to just write small on this one, all right? So part A says, write the system of equations to model the situation. The Browns bought 5 cheeseburgers and 2 fries for $11.53. So 5C, 5 cheeseburgers, plus 2F, 2 fries, equals $11.53. People use different letters. That's fine. It doesn't matter. The Greens bought 8 cheeseburgers and 4 fries for $19.48. There's your 2 equations. Just for doing these 2 equations, you get 2 out of 4 points. Part B, you have to find the cost of 1 cheeseburger and the cost of 1 fries. So what you want to do is you want to multiply one of the equations to create opposites. You're looking for a number that goes into another number right above each other. Does 5 go into 8 evenly? No, so we don't want to use that. We want to use the F's to make opposites with. 2 goes into 4 evenly. I want to try and create opposites with my F's. To create opposites with my F's, if I have a 4 here, I would want to get a negative 4 right there. To get a negative 4 there, I would have to multiply this whole top equation by negative 2. Distribute, distribute, distribute. There are a couple of people that distributed to the C and the F, but forgot to distribute to that third number. Be very careful there. So when I distribute, 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 I get what's here in the red in part B. Negative 10C minus 4F equals negative 2306. Notice how right here now, I have my opposites. I have my negative 4F and my positive 4F. So now when I add going down, these just cancel out. The 4F and the negative 4F. So adding going down, I have negative 2C. Adding going down, I have negative 358. This is just a one-step equation. Divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. You get that a cheeseburger costs $1.79. Now that you have the C equals 179, now you can choose either equation. It doesn't matter which one, and sub it in. I thought the first equation was the smaller one, the easier numbers to work with, so I subbed it into there. Instead of 5 times C, I have 5 times 179 plus 2F equals 1153. Solve that 2-step equation. You get that each fry was $1.29. Questions on this one? Take a look at 28. This one you might have just not remembered how to do. All right. Dylan invested $1,500 into a savings account at an interest rate of 2.9%. Anytime that you have that 2.9%, the first thing that you want to do is make it into a decimal. You make it into a decimal by moving the decimal point over 2 places to the left. So we take it and we move it over. 0 goes in here as a placeholder. He made no deposits or withdrawals on the account for 10 years. Find to the nearest cent the balance after 10 years. 1,500 is what he started off with. Times, in parentheses, 1 plus. It's plus because when you put money into a savings account, that money is going to grow. It's going to increase. So plus that percent, but we're going to put it in as a decimal, 0.029, to the 10th power because it's 10 years. Your question on your final exam will look identical to this, just different numbers. So make sure that you realize what you need to do. You can type this all into the calculator exactly how it is and hit equals, round it to the nearest penny. There are 2 people, I think, that rounded it to be 40 cents. It doesn't round to 40 cents, it rounds to 39 cents. So just be careful of what you round it to. You're rounding to the nearest penny, not the nearest tenth. Then in question number 29, there are a bunch of people that screwed this question up. And this is quite honestly a question that my regular 8th graders would have. So it says a snowstorm lasted 12 hours. So first of all, notice elapsed time is 12. That's the farthest point that we know anything about. So if you had stuff written after the 12, you shouldn't, all right? Because that's sort of our cutoff point for this particular question. It says for the first 2 hours. So there are a couple of people that had a really good idea, and the couple of people wrote in the numbers at the bottom here. I think that's a really, really, really smart idea, all right? Writing in the numbers at the bottom. It said it's for the first 2 hours, it snowed an average rate of 1 inch per hour. First of all, there are a bunch of people that didn't start here at 0. We have to start at 0. We don't know anything. We don't know anything before that time. So we have to start at 0. So for the first 2 hours, it snowed 1 inch per hour. So after 1 hour, it would be at 1 inch. So I'm going to put a dot there. After the second hour, it snowed another hour. So I'm going to put another dot right here. Connect those dots. This is what the first segment should look like. Then it started to snow at an average rate of 2 inches per hour. So now I'm going in the purple, 2 inches per hour for the next 3 hours. So starting here, I need to go from hour 2 to hour 3, and I need to go up 2 hours. So from 2 to 4. It snowed another 2 inches, so I'm going up to 6. It snowed another 2 inches. I'm going up to 8. So that is 2 inches an hour for 3 hours. Then it stopped snowing for 3 hours. So did our total snowfall increase at all? No, it stayed the same. So we go over 1, over 2, over 3. Our total snowfall stays the same. Then it started snowing again at the rate of 1/2 inch per hour for the remainder of the storm. So now I'm going up 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch is 1 block. So 1 hour I'm going over and I'm going up 1/2 inch. Another 1/2 inch, another 1/2 inch, another 1/2 inch. I have to stop right there because that's kaput. That's hour 12. And that's what your final exam looks like.